Hello there. It's another time for another biology lesson. Today we'll be looking at the topic towards better health. Now, moving along, the objectives of our lesson today is to help learners define vectors, giving examples, describe how to control vectors, describe how to maintain good public health, and state health organizations and their functions. Now, moving along, we'll be looking at the topic, what are vectors? Now, a vector is any organism that does not cause disease itself, but which spreads infection by conveying pathogens from one host to another. Now, we have various examples of vectors and the disease that they transmit here. Now, cockroaches and houseflies, they cause cholera, dysentery, and typhoid. Mosquito, especially the female Anopheles mosquito, Aedes mosquito, cause malaria and Zika virus disease. Tsetse fly cause trypanosomiasis. Dogs, cats, and sometimes man as well, they can be vectors that cause rabies. Rats and rodents cause Lassa fever. Black flies cause river blindness or onchocerciasis, while the Culex mosquito cause elephantiasis. Now, you have examples right here of vectors. We have rats, mosquito, housefly, cockroach or cockroaches, tsetse fly, sandfly. They all cause vector-borne diseases. Now, moving along, we have other examples here. We have the Aedes mosquito that causes dengue fever, Zika, yellow fever, and the pathogens that they transmit, alpha virus and flavivirus. The female Anopheles mosquito causes malaria and it transmits plasmodium. Culex mosquito causes lymphatic filariasis and West Nile fever. Now, the pathogens that Culex mosquito transmits is RNA virus and Wuchereria bancrofti, and it goes on and on like that. So these are examples of vectors, the diseases they cause, and the types of pathogens that they transmit. Now, moving along, we'll be looking at how to control these vectors. How do we control them? Now, we are going to be looking at how to control mosquito, black fly, and housefly. Now, if you look at all these interventions right here, they can be classified into at least 4 methods. The biological methods, which deals with using the vectors natural enemy to control them. When we talk about the chemical method, we are talking about using chemicals like insecticides, poisons to kill vectors. And also the physical interventions have to do with physical things that we can do. We can kill them physically, we can put up nets and things like that. And also there are also environmental interventions that can be taken. So let's look at them one after the other. Now, to control mosquitoes, can clear the bushes around, which is environmental, drain ponds and stagnant water, choke the larvae and pupa by dropping oil on stagnant water in which they breed, use biological agents like duck, tilapia that eat up their larvae, kill adult mosquitoes with aerosols or insecticides using nets or barriers to keep them out of our living rooms. Now, the black fly as well, you need to clear the bushes around, fumigate with chemicals to kill the adult flies, destroy their breeding grounds. For housefly, we use insecticides to kill them, we close pit toilets properly, cover foods and drink properly in airtight containers, and use poison baits to kill the adult flies. So you can see here pictures here which shows one of the interventions. That means using insect exterminator, catching dogs that carry the rabies pathogen. Yes, put the dog in animal shelter, use house traps or mouse traps to control rats. Now, moving along, we are going to be looking at the maintenance of good public health. Now, these are the ways to maintain good public health. Number 1 is proper refuse and waste disposal. The second one is proper sewage disposal, protection of water sources against intrusion by livestock, public health education on how to identify a disease and to report to a local health authority. Now, this one is very, very important because it was essential during the time of COVID-19 in the year 2020, where there were lots of health announcements made on how to take care of yourself to prevent infections and how to help yourself if you experience symptoms. Protect cooked food from contamination by vectors, immunization of people to prevent epidemic, control of transmittable diseases by vaccination or early treatment. Now, as you can see right here, this is a picture that describes habits of good public hygiene. Now, as you can see here, we have keep toilets clean and dry. You should dispose of soaked tissues properly. Use tissue when sneezing or coughing. Take temperature checks, washing of hands, and so on. Now, moving along, we'll be looking at the various health organizations like WHO, which is the World Health Organization, the United Nations International Children's Education Fund, UNICEF, International Red Cross Society, IRC, and the Nigerian Medical Association. So we'll be one after the other, starting with UNICEF, United Nations International Children's and Educational Fund. This is their logo right here. Now, the UNICEF is mandated by the United Nations General Assembly to advocate for the protection of children's rights, to help meet their basic needs, and to expand their opportunities to reach their full potential. Now, moving on to the World Health Organization, WHO, this is their symbol right here. The WHO is the directing and coordinating authority for health within the United Nations system. It is responsible for providing leadership on global health matters, shaping the health research agenda, setting norms and standards, articulating evidence-based policy options, providing technical support to countries, and monitoring and assessing health trend. Now, the WHO played a huge role during the last pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic that ravaged the world, you see, and that is why they played their role in ensuring that the world was kept safe and that the world could return to normal after the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, up next is the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, which was established in 1960. The NMA is at present involved in influencing health policy formulation in an ad hoc manner. This is done by making unsolicited recommendations to the government on various health issues, and also by making up inputs whenever invited to some of the national committee meetings on policy formulations. Now, also moving on to the International Red Cross Society, IRC. Now, the Red Cross, International Red Cross and Red Crescent Movement is the largest humanitarian network in the world. Its mission is to alleviate human suffering, protect life and health, and uphold human dignity, especially during armed conflict and other emergencies. Now, this is their logo right here. It's to serve humanity. That is the Red Cross. Now, we have come to the end of today's lesson. Now, let's take a quick look at the main points. Now, we can see here that the vector is an organism that does not cause disease itself, but which spreads infection by conveying pathogens from one host to another. We can control vectors using physical, biological, and chemical methods. We can maintain good public health through proper refuse and sewage disposal, immunization, education, and so on. There are health organizations that help to monitor health issues around the world and locally, such as the WHO, UNICEF, IRC, and NMA. I want to pause this video and try to answer this question to see how much of the lessons that you have imbibed, and I'll see you again in the next lesson. Bye bye.